Hello and welcome to Flap TV, we're the area's largest Facebook group dedicated to political discussion. Fitchburg-Leominster, all politics, jumps from your computer screen to your television screen. Our guest this episode, Leominster resident, member of the Conservation Commission and City Council Slayer, Elisabeth Ricci Blair.
Thank you.
And on the right, we have another Flap member with us, active Flap member, Erik Lowell. Thank you very much, both of you, for joining us today. Issue 1, on November 7th, voters will choose a new state senator at the same time that they are selecting their representatives on the local level. Some city councilors in both cities, Leominster and Fitchburg, are running for re-election to the city council and also running for the state senate seat simultaneously. Keeping in mind that city councilors is a part-time position and most city councilors do have full-time jobs, if one of them should win the Senate seat and also win re-election to the City Council, should they resign their council seat or serve their term on the City Council that they were elected to serve? Michael Delamonica.
I think it depends. Like, for instance, somebody running for re-election. I mean, in this case, what we have is existing city councilors running for re-election and running for the state Senate seat. And so, essentially, what I would say is, fine, serve out your term, which ends in January, but I just think it's unrealistic to serve your entire city council term while still, becoming a state senator. I mean, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just to serve an entire 2-year city council. In my opinion, the voters are making a choice when they go, and people who are voting for this stuff usually know. Or should know whether this person's an existing city councilor or not, and they're making the choice. Look, I want to see this person elevated to the state senate. So that tells me, okay, fine, you got a promotion, congratulations. And you want to serve out you want to serve out the rest of your actual official term until January, your old term, because you're an incumbent. Fine, but don't serve simultaneously a new city council term as well as a state senate term.
Erik.
My position is exactly the same as Michael's. I think you can put yourself at odds with trying to serve two complete different terms in terms of your time and perhaps your loyalties. I think absolutely finish out your council term and then take the Senate, but don't run for both.
Elisabeth.
I am along with these two. I don't think you should be allowed to double dip quite like that. As Michael said, it's a full 2 years. So, I realize they're technically part-time positions, but I don't think it's a good idea.
Cindy.
I agree. A little bit different reasons, though. I think that you should, if you obviously become senator, then you should focus on that position and leave that other position open for somebody else who might be interested in it. And so I just think that trying to fill two positions like that, something's going to be amiss there. Yep. So I think you should focus on the senator seat and give up that other seat.
So Elisabeth, I want to direct this to you because I know you have been really took a lead when it came to recreational marijuana in Leominster. And one of the big talking points there was that we need to respect the will of the voters. Mm-hmm. So if the voters walk into that voting booth and say, I'm voting for this person to be city councilor, and I'm also going to vote for them to be state senator, wouldn't that be respecting the will of the voters to have them serving in both of those capacities?
That is, you've got me there. But I don't know if we're going to even know what their intentions are. But I suppose, if they are planning on getting, stepping down from their seat and focusing only on one. But yes, I suppose you're right. If a voter wanted them as both, then I would have to respect that. I don't think it's a good idea, but...
Yeah, but I mean, Michael Kushmarek is running unopposed. So do you suggest that all the voters just leave that entry blank on the ballot? Sue Shalafu-Zephyr is running in an at-large race, and maybe voters are in there saying, well, I'd like her as state senator, but hey, if she doesn't make it there, out of all these people running for city council, I would like her as a second choice. So I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily the will of the voters, just because you're choosing them for 2 spaces. I think there's other underlying reasons for that.
So we've seen, we've seen precedent, but the precedent has run both ways on this. And it seems to cut across the lines of the cities here. If you look at Leominster, when Bob Antonioni was elected state representative, he continued to serve on the city council. When Mary Jane Simmons was elected state representative, she continued to serve on the city council. I was serving on the city council with her at the time, and I can tell you there was no let-up in her commitment to the city, and she did not miss any meetings. And then again, when Dennis Rosa was elected state representative, he continued to serve on the city council. Fitchburg was a little different. When Steve DiNatale was elected state representative, he resigned the council seat. And then when Stephen Hay was elected state representative, he resigned his council seat. So it seems to be a little difference in the 2 cities. And I'm wondering if one of the reasons is the differences in the way that replacements are selected in the 2 cities. In Leominster, the person that was next in line automatically elevates into that seat as long as they receive 25% of the vote. In Fitchburg, the rest of the city council gets together and picks who they want
Interesting.
to replace.
I didn't know.
That was, yeah.
So it seems that there's and you'll have establishment deny it. Excuse me, there is no establishment. You'll have some people deny it that they have these things planned out in advance on who's going to elevate onto who. But do you think that plays a part in why Fitchburg and Leominster have set different precedents in this area?
It could be, but sometimes it is just a coincidence. I mean, because you're looking at a small sample size there. Okay, I would be interested to see what happens this time around, assuming that a sitting city councilor, wins the election. The odds are there that a sitting city councilor would win the election, but not necessarily. So I'd be interested to know that. Could just be a coincidence. I mean, it's an interesting point.
All right, Zen?
Sorry, I just think this is probably a very good point, that the voters need to be educated in how this works, what's going to happen if they do get elected, that they could actually serve as both, and then go from there. They can make the decision.
Is it a legitimate question to put the candidates on the spot and to say, what will you do if you win both seats?
Absolutely, I think so. I think
Absolutely.
people will want to know, and people will have different feelings about it. I wonder how well they can manage both positions. Some people probably can. But I just wonder if you're stretching yourself a little bit thin.
Right.
And if we're putting you into the Senate, we're putting you there for a reason as a senator. So it's like we want you elevated into that position. So, there's other people that can fill that other seat.
And what I didn't think of is the one exception to the rule in Fitchburg was Emil Gogan, who was elected state representative, not only continued to serve on the city council, but once his term in the city council was up, he ran for re-election to the city council while he was state representative. Now, city council is a part-time job. Most city councilors have full-time jobs.
Right.
State senator is a full-time job. So what's the difference between serving as a full-time job as a state senator and also part-time city councilor, as opposed to serving a full-time job as a teacher or a lawyer or any other profession and also serving on the city council? Why do you think there would be more pull on one than there is on the other?
I would say, somebody that works a full-time 9-to-5 job, an attorney, a teacher, or other professional, they have some predictability in their schedule. They have some predictability in their obligations. From a state senator, you could be doing an Eagle Scout ceremony one day that could have them out at 8 o'clock at night. There could be a natural disaster that comes through, and they could be having to, quarterback that in some way. And these are things that are unpredictable and do take a significant amount of time. I like my elected officials to be very active in the community, and I can see where there would definitely be a conflict in that.
And if you're a city councilor, I mean, your focus is on that city. The senator, your focus is on your region.
Your district, yeah.
So it's a little bit different. You're expanding it. So is there a little conflict of interest there as well? being in that city and the region.
That's a good point. How do you advocate? If you're a city councilor in Leominster and there's only, there's a certain pie of state funding, how do you advocate for Fitchburg and Gardner, which are also in the state Senate district, to get a piece of that pie when, as a city councilor, you're
Yeah,
really pushing
exactly.
for Leominster, right?
Yeah.
Just wearing yourself out. I mean, we've seen recently Leominster City Council meetings go until midnight.
Do you really think a state senator would be wearing themselves out more than someone that works in the private sector, though? Have you seen?
I don't know. I mean,
have you
again-
seen their schedule, like in the Sentinel? They're in session for 9 minutes a day.
I have.
I'm hoping that they're putting in the time.
I see some of the senators in my district are out there all hours of the day, significant amounts of her day. Senator Goby is out there every day, event after event after event. She's always out there. It's not just the time spent in the Senate, it's the time spent in the district interacting with the community and supporting the community events.
Good. Issue 2, speaking of the Senate election, the reason why we have a special Senate election is because our state senator Jen Flanagan resigned her Senate seat to take a position on the Cannabis Control Commission. And it has been selected. 4 out of 5 of them opposed question 4. What does this mean for recreational marijuana in Massachusetts, Erik Lowell?
I know that 4 out of the 5 were anti-marijuana. Only 3 to 5 have tried it. I don't think it's going to mean anything good. There's been a lot of issues with this marijuana law already. I just don't see anything good coming from having all these people there. As far as we haven't accepted the law the way the voters passed it as it is.
Elizabeth?
I'm a little worried, but I've been worried the whole time, so that's nothing new. There is the one that is for marijuana seems to be very qualified, and I just don't know too much about. It's hard to tell. We don't know too much about the other 4. Some have said they like Erik said, some have tried it. So I guess at least they've tried it, but we don't really know any more than that. I don't know.
I think the powers that be put those people in those positions on purpose. They do not want it here, and they're going to stop it as much as they possibly can. They are dragging their feet, and the voters have already voted almost a year now, and there's no reason why this can't be implemented much quicker than it is. And it's no different than alcohol. You regulate alcohol. You give out your permits, you put in your rules and regulations, let's get it done. I don't think it's going to happen that quickly.
Michael?
Well, let's put a name to the powers that be. It was Governor Baker who appointed these people, okay? And I hear from all my Republican friends and all my Charlie Baker fan friends, some of who are at this table, oh, he's a different kind of Republican. He's more of a libertarian. Well, no, chickens come home to roost, typical Republican move. Like, we want the government out of our lives except for, the things that I care about. So, he was, let's put a face to this. It's his doing. He appointed these folks, and he's trying to reach an end. I mean, maybe he's trying to show a conservative streak to prepare for running for higher office, or trying to gain favor with some of the national folks, or what. I don't know what his deal is, but
it's not all him doing the appointments. I think if I understand correctly, there's a few different people that get to pick a person to be on there. So he picks one, and the Attorney General picks one, and
Treasurer Deb Goldberg.
Yeah.
Stop picking
So
on our
it's-
governor, Mike.
oh, sure, yeah, right.
But you're right. He is. I think he's sidestepping it.
He
It's
picked
just-
Senator
Yeah, and
Flanagan.
it's yeah.
I think, aren't all the other 4 politicians, or previously involved in politics, I believe?
Yeah.
I think one was a former attorney general. And also, I don't know if you all know, I'm sure you do, they're planning on having them take over the medical marijuana as well.
Sure.
So that's a little worrisome too. Are there going to be changes there? I mean, we honestly don't know what's going to happen.
What could go wrong?
Was it concerning when the new chairman of the commission, the first statement he made when they had their first meeting was that he was very doubtful and very concerned that they'd be able to meet the deadline that was set by the legislature, which was already pushed back from what the voters voted on, right? The voters voted on one deadline, then the legislature came with another deadline, and now the very first statement from the new chairman is, well, we don't even know if we can make that deadline.
Well, that's code for we don't want it, because that's what that's what a certain city councilor tried. Well, we just need more time. We just need more time. Well, that's code for we don't intend to do anything. You know, we don't want this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the state's losing a lot of revenue because now it's legal. People are, if they, I've said it before, if they smoke pot and they bought pot before, they're still smoking and they're still buying it. So the state's losing revenue, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. The voters specifically said, we want it. There's plenty of businesses out there getting ready to get it up and running, and they're just dragging their feet, going against the voters.
Yeah. The other thing, actually, along with the voters, is this commission that they put together, it doesn't even reflect the will of the voters. It's not even a 50-50 split.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah,
mean, it's
exactly.
just
It's not
kind
really
of...
legal. We
No.
just, not like this coffee cup is legal. You don't need a permit. There's no commission for it. It's a sin commission.
But at least you
That's
should
what it
have
is.
2 for and 2 against. But again,
Right,
they haven't
Or
even
maybe
been
even
answering
3
questions.
for and 2 against, since the voters voted yes
Yeah,
on it.
exactly.
right?
Yes,
Would be-
or I could do with it
representative.
50-50 at least.
I remember when we had a single city councilor in Leominster who wanted to go against the will of the voters on this and push her moratorium. It went through 2 readings of the city council, 2 different votes, where it passed by a vote of, I believe it was 8-0. And then someone named Elisabeth Ricci Blair stepped into the fight and ended
up
up killing the
against-
thing.
Went up
That was
against.
fun.
So I think probably what we
Frida.
need to do is send Elizabeth Ricci Blair to Boston and set them
Yes.
straight.
I'll go
right?
if you guys can point me in the right direction, because that's going to be a much bigger animal than what we've done so far.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
But I'll go.
You'll
I'll
get the
go.
job. You did it in
I'll
Leominster.
go.
You get the job done in Boston, right?
Maybe I should just keep calling up Jen Flanagan. I don't know.
I like it. All right, we're going to need to take a quick break. We're going to be back in 1 minute. Don't go away. Issue 3. Last week, Donald Trump announced that he is rescinding the DREAM Act. And then, just recently, he met with Democratic leaders, and Democratic leaders announced that they reached a compromise. The White House said, no, they didn't. So everything's kind of up in the air right now with the DREAM Act. Elizabeth Ricci Blair, what should we be doing with the DREAM Act?
I'm for DACA. However, I think what the best way to handle it is there should be, a time limit. Like, you have so many years to become a citizen. I really think that's the best way to handle it.
Cindy?
Well, I personally think he did the right thing by turning it over to Congress. I think they need to deal with immigration reform, and that's Congress's job to create these laws. And he did the right thing by putting a delay on it, giving Congress time to address the issue, whether they will or not. I'd like to see them come to an agreement somewhere in there. I'd like to see, the kids that are here, that have been born here, came here as kids, I don't want to see them deported. But I would like to see the criminal element deported, and I'd like to immigration to really deal with that. And I think they are slowly, but they got a ways to go. It'll be interesting to see how this turns out.
Michael?
Well, I think for maybe the first time in his term, he did something politically expedient. And so what he did by rescinding this executive order and then seeking with for Congress to reach some sort of a compromise and hold out the olive branch, so to speak, is he made everybody a little happy. Okay, in terms of Donald Trump's supporters, not counting the people who just held their nose and just really hated to do it but voted for him reluctantly, not counting those people. There's two categories of active supporters of Donald Trump. Okay, there are people like my friend Cindy here who just good people, conservative values, and look, he comes the closest to what she, out of the choices, okay, he came the closest to what she wanted. And then there's the deplorables. Okay, he made both groups happy. People like Cindy who want to see a compromise and get something done. Well, he's shown signs that he's going to do that. And you know what? Here's my prediction: eventually, it's going to get done, despite any sort of little attempted backtrack he may have tweeted or anything, any little statements he's made. Eventually, it is going to get done. So it's going to make people like Cindy happy. And then his original bombastic fire and brimstone, rescinding the thing. Well, that still resonated with his people and his deplorables, so to speak. And so, he made everybody a little bit happy.
Erik?
I think rescinding it was the right call. I view DACA and the DREAM Act as both political footballs that were thrown out there to make the quarterback look good. But at the end of the day, especially DACA, it wasn't really a path to citizenship. It was just a path to keep people here without deporting them under certain guidelines. It wasn't law. I think rescinding it and then kicking it back to Congress and telling them to do their job and pass something that makes sense is absolutely the right thing to do. Like Cindy, I don't feel that an infant brought here and who's lived their life here as an American, if they've never been in trouble, if they're paying their own way, going to school, I don't see any reason to throw them out. However, we got to do something because can't keep these people in limbo, and I think DACA gave them double jeopardy in a way. They signed up for this, they put their name out there, and now if nothing happens, who are they going to blame for now that they've given all their information to these agents, and it seems like there's a problem
But
there.
I mean, come on now. I mean, the DREAM Act is for those kids that came here as infants, they came here as children, and their parents came here illegally and were undocumented. Okay, the kids grew up here, they went to school here, this is the only life they've ever known. That's what the DREAM Act is. I mean, we see all these other things thrown in, talking about criminal elements. DREAM Act has nothing to do with criminals. The DREAM Act is about kids. Kids who grew up here, this is the only life they've ever known.
It's part of immigration.
Right, but this is what the DREAM Act is. So you say on one hand, I don't want to deport these poor kids, and then on the other hand say, I support rescinding the DREAM Act. And even going so far as saying, well, good for him to throw it back to Congress. Okay, yeah, good for him to use little kids, innocent kids who've done nothing wrong, as a pawn in order to get Congress to do their job. There are other ways
compared to what these people have done, some of the stuff they've tried to pull. Come on, it's pretty tame actually, especially if they reach a compromise.
Using kids as pawns?
Well, yeah, sure. Yeah, that's part of the course
All
for these
politicians
people.
do. They all do it.
And you support that?
Well, no, I don't support it, but that's the way it is. I mean, everybody plays to whoever they're going to be in that position.
But you just said you supported it. You supported what he did. You support
I do. I support him sending it to Congress because I want Congress to deal with it. I think they need to get a plan together of how you deal with immigration. We just can't have open borders where people just come in and nobody knows
Again, but this is
where.
specific to the DREAM Act. This is specific to the kids.
But it's part of immigration. So
why single out the DREAM Act and then put those kids and make those kids targets?
Those kids, they're in limbo. They're in limbo. They're not citizens.
No, they're getting an education.
They've been registered now, and to be signed up for this, you have to be going to school or have a job or let's see, you can't have committed a crime. I mean, these are like good upstanding citizens that we actually want in this country. But I don't know are you advocating for no limit on DACA or?
It should be part of a comprehensive reform. This is my personal opinion. Should be part of a comprehensive reform, but don't rescind it.
No.
Don't make these kids a target as a stick to Congress.
No, and I don't think this should
There
be...
are other sticks that can be used.
Right, and I don't think this should be the first thing to tackle, again, on immigration.
Then solve it. Stop the deferments. Either make them U.S. citizens or send them home, keep them out of limbo. I
Well,
say they're already Americans.
I do agree there
Give them
should
their
be
citizenship.
some sort of,
Be done with it.
there should be something, you know, it's a little too loose.
The only way you get Congress to act is almost to make threats. You know, they don't
That's
seem
the
to,
sad
I mean,
part.
it's the sad part. I mean, until you get down to the bottom line, if everybody just keeps fighting each other, nothing ever gets done. So you gotta give them a little, but you gotta take something back just to get them to at least negotiate.
So you
At
hold the
least now
kids
they're
ho-
talking.
so you hold the kids hostage?
Unfortunately, that's
No,
what's
you make
happening.
the kids Americans and
Yeah,
then work on
exactly.
hard, stiffer
Well,
immigration standards to
and
control
I
the other
agree
side
with
of
that,
it.
but that's totally different than what you just said.
Yeah, but in Cindy's defense, we're not
Not
talking
really.
about 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old kids now. We're talking about people who were 2, 3, 4, 5 years old,
Correct.
and now they are adults. And now the very basis of DACA is that the fact that they are working, that they're in the community, they're working. Well, what percentage of these folks, you know what, to play devil's advocate, and you know, to you know, throw you guys a bone here. Look, what percentage of these working individuals who you know weren't who could afford it paid the $780 to start the process for citizenship? Or are they just sort of relying on this,
Yeah,
you know, forever series of life rafts? Okay, what percentage of these folks have actually have at least taken the initiative to pay the $780 to at least start the process? Everybody, all right? So you know what? To play devil's advocate, I would like to know how many of these folks, you know, really have made the effort. And if
I
it's a
agree.
really high percentage, then by all means, then we should try to do what we can to expedite it. But you know. I do see that the argument that can be made that throwing life raft after life raft after life raft is no way to run an immigration policy.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kicking the can down the road and leaving it for
It's-
somebody
it's
else.
gotta end.
It's gotta, somebody's gotta come up with a plan, and it's Congress's job to do that.
Kevin doesn't understand it, but I'm totally with it. They are Americans. If they've been here since infancy, they have lived as Americans. They're working, they're going to school, they're doing everything that you would expect an American to do.
Kevin loves the children, but ask him if he wants to feed them.
Well, in my case, I do feed them.
You're always picking on me. How come you always pick? I never pick on you, and you always
Oh,
pick on
there
me.
we go. Oh, there we go.
You know,
You guys know.
next episode, we're going to talk about bullying.
Good.
Topic.
That's a good topic.
Exit question. Speaking of Congress, are they going to pass tax reform this year, Cindy?
Yes, I do believe they will.
Yeah, okay.
I do.
Michael?
Yeah, like most times when there's a Republican president, they'll pass something stupid.
Eric?
I think I'll see my pigs fly first.
I,
Are they going to pass tax reform?
no. I don't even know if some of them know what it is.
I think that's probably one of the few things that they're actually going to get done this year.
Yeah, they'll,
Some
they'll,
people
they'll,
know.
they'll pass,
They'll
a
do
few,
it to
they'll
spite
pass a few
everybody.
perks for their rich friends and then call it tax reform.
Maybe now when
Just
you-
by something stupid.
All right,
Maybe that's-
we need to go. We're out of time. Elizabeth, Ricci, Blair, Erik, Lowell, thank you so much for joining us. We'll
Thank you
catch
for
you
having me.
next time. Fitchburg-Leominster, all politics. Join the discussion. See you next time. Bye-bye.